There's the planet Mars. And there are also these red mountain landscapes in the Earth's southern hemisphere. The difference? A few signs of life, a few traces of a human presence. A sailboat in the distance, a field of windmills, a few traces of a scattered, complex human existence. They call it the territory. The territory, then, or else the pebble, because that is what they most commonly call New Caledonia. There are lots of other words that will tell you the story of this strange land, as if this confetti of republic on the other side of the world from metropolitan France had its own vocabulary. So, under the letter C, you have Caldoche. They're white, and have lived in these mountainous lands for barely more than a few generations. They are mostly cattle farmers, and in their spare time they love to hunt the stag that abound here. They still retain that pioneering mentality, and one feels they're close to their Australian neighbours, even having a similar look. They conquered vast expanses, huge ranches in the four corners of the islands, and they made the port of Noumea in the far south of Grande Terre their capital. Countless sporty types along the sea, morning and night. A cathedral, smart neighbourhoods, fine buildings, very Western, very white Noumea. Under the letter C, we have Kanak, which is also written with two Ks, as in Kanaki. They were the first inhabitants of the territory. Rather than live in villages, they belong to tribes often lost deep in the jungle, especially along this coast called the Forgotten Coast. It was doubtless that when James Cook looked through his telescope and saw these islands, these flat buttes rising above the waves, that he thought, "Now that reminds me of something. It looks like Scotland, the west coast of Scotland up in the Highlands." And that was how New Caledonia came into being, through the analogy of two coasts geographically opposite and separated by nearly 20,000 kilometers. As for the rest, the same wide horizons. But with a substantial difference all the same: the color of the earth. The territory is one giant mountain block, heavy with mines and effort. From the north to the south of Grande Terre, the mountains with their bowels ripped out by bulldozers are divided into terraces. Nickel. Once discovered, the mineral changed everything here. Depending on the year, a tenth of the world's production comes from the mines of New Caledonia. The price of nickel brings showers or sunshine here. Everything has gone so well over recent years that exploitation plants have sprung up from the ground from the north to the south of the territory. This is the Goro site. Billions of euros in investment, millions of tons of rocks and minerals swiftly washed, sorted, and a long pipeline running to the sea with a nagging question. How to put it all together? How to reconcile it all? At certain parts of the coast, in the west especially, the coral barrier is only a few hundred meters from the land, like here near Burai, in the channels of Poya. New Caledonia has a wealth of lagoon area, which runs nearly 800 kilometers from north to south. We would love to dive here, but it's banned. These lagoons and tropical coral reefs are among the most extensive in the world. Here you can find fauna and flora that are unique. And there, just there, an industry that is booming. Canals that have to be dug so ships can pass, laden with minerals mined in the mountain. Heavy industry against world heritage, nickel against coral. You never stop asking yourself the question. On the edge of the reef, near the channels that were formerly impossible to find on approximative charts, we still have the hulks of ships that left laden with nickel. Another visible trace today of this industry. Getting back to our New Caledonian alphabet, under the letter P, we have pines. This variety of tree that grows along the coast and seems to want to reach the clouds. Up to 50 meters for the highest. An icon of the territory. Pine also is in the island of Pines. 2 hours by boat from Noumea in the south of Grande Terre, and here we have a tiny cent of Polynesia, in this far end of Polynesia. Less austere than Grande Terre, the island of Pines is a sort of shop window for New Caledonia, the cover on the catalogue. But who would have imagined that when barely conquered by the French, the island of the Pines would become a penal colony during the reign of Napoleon III? The cemetery for those deported carries the memory of these enforced exiles. Condemned men had escaped from Cayenne only to find themselves even further from metropolitan France, imprisoned in the tropics in the shade of the pines. The declared objective was to populate the colony of New Caledonia. Later, much later, at the end of their sentences, other condemned men, now enfranchised, decided to settle in New Caledonia. The country seems rich. Everything remains to be done. The land is granted. What a godsend. Even later, the children and the grandchildren of the first colonists are joined by other French from Algeria, now French. They start a new life in a land that has known no conflict. Here, the mountains, the forest, the farms are gigantic. Here on the high seas, 100 kilometers to the east, lies another world. Calm and voluptuous, these are the Loyalty Islands. This is Uvea, an island which 25 years ago was at the center of what became known as the events, another important word in the new Caledonian lexicon. Uvea is an atoll. To die is beautiful. Now you really do believe you are in Polynesia, and the island is populated by Wallisians and, of course, Melanesians. The light and shade of Uvea, the magnificent. Rebel island, cursed island, sacred island, where the celestial is ever present. In the north and in the south of Uvea, tiny islands string out towards the open seas to infinity. They call them the Pleiades, a word that is both rich in meaning and in poetry. New Caledonia, this land that is also called Kanak, the world is upside down. There are stars in the sea.